We admire the men who shaped our country, and rightfully so. The men we see as heroes, from Alexander Hamilton to Muhammad Ali, for their confidence and their courage in believing they could change our nation. This idea of self-creation, that there's nothing holding us back. In them, we see America itself, constantly reinventing itself. Fearless, looking out over the horizon at the next frontier. But our country is not just all about the Benjamins, it's about the Tubmans, too. We need all our young people to know that Clara Barton and Lucretia Mott and Sojourner Truth and Eleanor Roosevelt and Dorothy Height, those aren't just for Women's History Month. They're the authors of our history, women who shaped their destiny. They need to know that. A woman did not magically appear on a space shuttle. It took Sally Ride's relentless commitment, Mae Jemison's boundless courage to shatter that glass ceiling. A group of California farm workers, they weren't just handed their rights. It took Dolores Huerta organizing and mobilizing, fighting for the dignity and justice they deserved. Rosa Parks wasn't simply a tired seamstress who sat down by accident. She was a civil rights leader with the eye of a strategist and the heart of a warrior. She had the confidence to board on that bus, the courage to risk her own life and liberty for the sake of ours. History did not fall into her lap, she seized that moral arc. And she bent it with her bare hands in the direction of justice. That's the story that's still being written, today, by our modern-day heroes like Nancy Pelosi or Sonia. Sotomayor or Billie Jean King or Laverne Cox or Sheryl Sandberg or Oprah Winfrey or Mikaela Ulmer or Michelle Obama, the countless ordinary people every day who are bringing us closer to our highest ideals. That's the story we're going to keep on telling, so our girls see that they, too, are America confident and courageous and, in the words of Audre Lorde, deliberate and afraid of nothing. That's the country we love, and I've never been optimistic as I am now. That we're going to create a country where everybody, no matter who they are or what they look like or where they come from or who they love, can make of their lives what they will. And together, we can build a world that's more just and more prosperous and more free. That's a job for all of us. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Barack Obama. Conversation on the USSC nomination process. Delivered April 7, 2016, University of Chicago Law School, Chicago, Illinois. Professor Strauss, well, Mr. President, it's a tremendous honor for the university and the law school. Welcome back. President Obama, it is good to be back. So there are a couple of people I want to acknowledge because they helped to facilitate this. First of all, I want to thank Dean Miles for closing down the school, I guess, for a day. Which is a little troubling. We've got a terrific congressional delegation who's here, and I just want to acknowledge them. First of all, your outstanding senior senator for the great state of Illinois, Dick Durbin, is here. And we've got Congressman Bobby Rush, Congressman Danny Davis, Congressman Bill Foster, and I want to thank David, who I was joking before we came out. Is one of the country's foremost constitutional experts and a nice guy. The last thing I'll say by way of introduction, I had a chance to talk to some young people over in the overflow room. Mostly students, and I just said to them that having now been in politics for quite some time, seeing what lawyers are capable of doing every single day, working on a whole range of issues that are of huge importance to our democracy and to our society, I hope that all the students here excited about the incredible changes and good that you are going to be able to do when you get out of here. I know that sometimes the news feeds cynicism and democracy at this moment seems particularly frustrating. But each and every day, I see lawyers not that much older than you who are helping young people get an education. Are making sure that consumers are protected, are helping to keep America safe. Are ensuring that our healthcare system works for everybody, are helping to preserve the planet and fight against climate change. It is remarkable what you can do with your talents. And it doesn't always get a lot of publicity, but you can make a really meaningful difference. So one of the reasons I wanted to come back is to recruit you. To stay engaged, get involved, make a difference. It doesn't mean you have to run for office. It doesn't mean you have to run for office. It doesn't mean you even have to work for government. There are a lot of ways of serving. But I do hope. That one of the things that you will take away from our discussion today and your extraordinary education. Here at the University of Chicago is the incredible high that you can get from serving this country. So with that, what do you want to talk about, David? Professor Strauss, well, let me start back when you were here as a teacher. I know you taught constitutional law, so you were thinking about the Supreme Court. And thinking about the justices and what would make someone or what make someone a great justice or a successful justice. But you're in a different spot now. President Obama, surprisingly, not as much as you would have expected. Obviously, we're having a substantial argument in Washington right now about not just a particular judge. But also about the process of appointing judges to the federal courts and appointing nominees to the Supreme Court. And to get this out of the way, Merrick Garland is an extraordinary jurist. Who is indisputably qualified to serve on the highest court in the land. And nobody really argues otherwise. I just want to be clear here. If the question is qualifications and excellence, it is uniformly viewed by not just Democrats but also Republicans. Those who have served lawyers, judges, legal scholars. Members of the current Supreme Court that he is as good of a judge as we have in this country right now. That he's fair, he's smart, he's objective. He's a consensus builder. He shows judicial restraint. He's appreciative of the unique role of the court, but also respectful of the role of the other branches of government. So no one has plausibly made an argument that this is not the kind of person we'd want on the Supreme Court. The question then becomes, why is it so hard for the guy just to get a hearing and a vote? And this speaks to what's happened, generally, when it comes to the process of appointing federal judges. It used to be that people read the Constitution and Article 2 powers fairly straightforwardly. It says the President shall make these nominations with the advice and consent of the Senate. And unless there was some sort of real problem with that judge's character or qualifications, it was fairly routine at every level, both at the district court level, the appellate court level. And the Supreme Court that the person would be confirmed in short order. There would be a hearing. People would ask the potential judge a question or 2 or 5 or 10. There would be questionnaires. And once they had satisfactorily performed that process, then the Senate would vote. And it was presumed, it was understood that just as the President had a constitutional duty to make the appointment, that the Senate had a constitutional duty to at least make a determination as to whether this person should be on the bench. What has been unique in this process has been the growing attitude inside of the Senate that every nomination no matter how well qualified a judge, is a subject of contention. In some cases, it's simply because one party or the other wants to gum up the works, and so they will drag out confirmation longer and longer. Even if, ultimately, the judge gets confirmed by voice vote, by unanimous consent in the Senate. They'll drag it out for 2 or 3 months, because if you're bogged down with judges, then it means other business can't be done. So sometimes it's just strategic. In other cases, the view has been that despite all the talk about people wanting objective, judges who are just calling balls and strikes and don't bring any views to bear. That there are litmus tests that are applied that prevent a judge from getting a fair vote. Even though they're qualified, because they don't meet the particular views of the party that's objecting. And this problem got bad enough in previous administrations. But came to a head under my administration, in which we had a situation where we were starting to see 6 months pass or 9 months pass before a judge could get a hearing. This was when Democrats were in charge of the Senate. But because of the particular rules of the filibuster that previously had been used for just a few things, but now were routinely deployed on everything, we just couldn't get judges through. And you started seeing a crisis in vacancies across districts and circuits everywhere. Finally, the Democrats said, "We're ending the ability for Senate members to filibuster when it comes to district court and appellate court justices, but we're going to preserve it for the Supreme Court." We now have a situation, after Judge Scalia's passing, in which it's not just that the Republican majority in the Senate intend to vote against a highly qualified judge. We now have a situation where they're saying, we simply will not consider the nomination itself. We're just going to shut down the process. And as a consequence, we have a 4-4 tie in the Supreme Court and potentially at least 2 Supreme Court terms in which this vacancy will remain.